Gary, the dust is settled now on Tuesday night against Luton Town. When you reflect on it, how much pride do you still have in the team for the way that they fought back in that game?
Yeah, massive pride. I mean, I spoke to them this morning about it. We of course review every game, good or bad. I mean, there's been a lot of good reviews so far in terms of showing the players stuff, but there's also been a lot to work on, and we knew it'd be a tough test. We knew it'd be a very different test, I think, to what we've had so far. I think that's what I like. Every game's been slightly different. So from a learning perspective, there's different angles that we can improve from. And there was a lot in the game that certainly we could have done better. But sometimes as players, you've got to find a way. And what I really liked about the performance is that players took it upon themselves to do certain things. I mean, the first goal, for example, Cammy runs down the left on an overlap, which certainly isn't something we've worked on. Puts a great crossing, and Mihal's still up there after 3 minutes 40 odd. So again, players using their initiative is a real positive, particularly when it works. Might not be quite so keen when it doesn't work, but no, I like the way we scored the goals, and sometimes you have to win games scrappily, if you like.
Mm-hmm. We saw you last night on Sky Sports, of course, and to begin with, when they opened the show, they started with yourself, talking about Oxford United and the great run of form that we've had at the moment. Keeping on that theme of pride, when you're talking about the club at the moment with people that aren't from within, how much pride do you have when you're speaking about the group in general and about the club that you've come in and seen?
Yeah, I think the first thing is when they ask you that on in front of probably millions, it's a little bit uncomfortable to talk about how well we've done, but I think what's nice is that you can share the feeling around the club, you can share the positivity that's happening at the football club, you can share the warmth and the feeling that when you come into the football club, from everyone around it, not just the players and the staff. So I think for me it's nice to be able to sort of portray the club in the light that certainly I've found it in, which has been really ambitious, friendly club that wants to compete and more than compete in this league. So it's nice to be able to do that. Still a little bit uncomfortable because as a manager of quite a number of games, when you're on a good run, it's great, but of course that the Championship you have to continue that hard work to maintain it. But it's never a hard time to go on national TV and talk about a great winning run and talk about how good the club is.
Because I think externally, probably a lot of people are getting excited when they look at Oxford form at the moment. Of course, 7 undefeated in the league under yourself as well. Do you have to just constantly try and make sure, as much as you're trying to keep everyone pushing forward and positive, that you keep things realistic at the same time? Yeah,
it's a really hard balance, I think, sometimes, because you want to use that positivity to sort of snowball and create this forward momentum where everyone feels as though this can continue. And of course you do, but I think as a head coach, sometimes you're always trying to rein that back enough to make sure that there's still that hunger and there's still that desire and determination to make sure we keep improving. I think that's what it's about. I think the group are a pretty humble group. I don't think they're the sort of group that would get carried away. I don't think there's anything to get carried away about. We're sat in mid-table in the Championship. So we're not sat there in 4th position. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, there's a lot of growth left. But I think for me, it's more important to just focus on why we're there, not that we're there, why we're in this run of form and what have we done to get in this run of form, and to make sure that we continue to build those processes so that we keep this consistency going.
Because it's a results-driven game, football, we all know that. However, we do know at the same time that this run's not always going to continue. So how important is it that when you're doing that, you're also analysing the performances and making sure that the guys are improving game on game, or at least looking to improve game on game?
Yeah, massively. I mean, there's been some performances in there that, Preston, there were a lot of things we didn't like about the performance, but the players managed to get a result. Plymouth, there were certain things we didn't like about it. In a lot of the games, the end of the Cardiff game, for example. So and I think the Luton game in its entirety were a lot of things that we could have done better. But we're going to find out. I think if you win games of football, then teams start to pay a little bit more attention to you. They try to work out how to stop some of those moments. It's just a constant evolution, really, I think. But one thing I've always tried to do is I've always tried to make sure that whatever group I'm with, has that work ethic, has that desire, has that hunger. That's the challenge. The challenge is, can you go and make 7 games unbeaten, 10 games unbeaten? And if you can't, can you then go on another 7-game unbeaten streak? So yeah, you never know what's around the corner in the Championship. It's an unpredictable league full of a lot of good teams, a lot of good players, a lot of good managers. So, but we focus on us and we try to continue to work hard.
Have you had time yet to still have the training sessions that you want to get into the guys what you want from a team?
No, is the answer to that quite easily. It's been difficult. I think I worked out the other day. I think I've done, other than match preparation, I've probably done about 3 other sessions. Literally 3 other coaching sessions within that. So, but what I would say is there's lots of opportunity within this time to have plenty of meetings, plenty of analysis meetings on what we're trying to do, how that looks. In some ways, you end up doing a lot more in the classroom than you would do out on the pitch because of fatigue and recovery. So, but yeah, I don't necessarily think that by having loads of time on a training ground that's going to make us sensationally better. But I think it'd be nice just to be able to settle down a little bit into some sort of a routine. But Championship football, EFL life doesn't really give you a routine, does it? It's a constant battle of long journeys, midweek games, different kickoffs. You've got to certainly have a lot of resilience to continue for a full season.
One of the positives at the moment is that we don't really seem to have many players on the treatment table, touch wood.
Why did you say that?
For yourself though, you've got a brilliant squad now to pick from, new signings that have come in the door as well. How do you make sure as a head coach though that it doesn't become a challenge at the same time when you have so many good options?
Yeah, you can't avoid the challenge. I think you can't avoid those scenarios. I think that, anybody outside the team at the moment, you would like to think they look and they see a team that's won 5 and drawn 2 in 7 games. So it's very difficult to create an argument that really I should have played and made the difference. Of course, there's a lot of good players who want to play. And sometimes it's they want to play their part. When you're doing a review meeting on a Monday morning or a Thursday morning and they're not in that review meeting again, sometimes it's a challenge. But they have to be patient. They have to make sure that they're ready when called upon. They've worked incredibly hard, the ones that haven't played. The ones that have come in and done a job maybe for a game or for 3 or 4 games have done incredibly well. So, yeah, it's a tight-knit group. There's a really good atmosphere around the group. You can't keep everybody happy all the time, but certainly I've had a lot of good conversations with the players that are not in the team. They've been quite clear on what they maybe need to do when they get the opportunity. But it's a nice problem to have, but it is a problem that every head coach will say is probably takes up most of their time, takes up most of their thinking to try and keep the group together.
We go to Stoke, away from home, your former club, on Saturday lunchtime. Both clubs have probably have different preparations. We played at home on Tuesday, won the game. Stoke had a long trip to Portsmouth last night and lost the game as well. How much, if at all, do you think that will come into it on Saturday?
Not really. I don't think that's the sort of thing I would necessarily see as an advantage, really. I mean, obviously, in some ways, an advantage, but I wouldn't look at it like that. They've got an experienced manager in Mark Robbins who knows this division inside out, like I do. They're on the back of a poor defeat, so I'm sure there'll be a real motivation to get the result that kickstarts their season. They've actually, they hadn't lost many games up until that point in this sort of period. I wouldn't look at the game thinking that that's the sort of performance I'm going to see against our opponent. I don't think it will be. And it'd be a tough test. It's always a tough test. You're going to the Bet365, the fans they'll be up for it. They'll be desperate for their team to sort of improve and get that win. So yeah, I'll never ever take any situation or any team lightly. I've seen so many different scenarios in this division where you feel like you've got an advantage, and a team that looks like they haven't got the advantage puts in an amazing performance. It's down to us. It's down to us to focus, and that's what we'll do.
And just finally, how good a position are we going into the game though, in terms of match preparation, and also we've got the likes of Tyler returning to the squad also? Yeah,
pretty good. It's nice to get Tyler back. Again, it might mean that someone misses out, so we have to think about that balance and the fact that the team's won 2 games and drawn 1 in his absence. Of course, is a real positive because he's been one of the best players for us, certainly in his opening game. So, it's a nice addition back. It will strengthen the group. And then it will mean that I have even more tough decisions ahead of me.
Well, enjoy making those, Gary. Thank you.
Thank you very much.